Ohio State fans, Ryan Day wants you to be loud in the Horseshoe on Saturday at noon when Ohio State takes on Indiana in the first top 5 home game of the year, 3rd for the Buckeyes overall. The first 2, of course, were on the road. Ryan Day issuing a challenge to Buckeye Nation. Will Howard issuing a challenge to Buckeye Nation. Show up early, be loud on 3rd down, make the Horseshoe rockin'. They know it's a noon game. They know you guys don't like noon games. Play the hand that you're dealt. They want a loud Horseshoe, and I think they should get one on Saturday. Tim, we just heard from Ryan Day. Oh, wait, that's the 41-year vet, Tim. Hey, I'm just Spencer Holbrook, forgetting the intros because, it's a Tuesday. Just talked to Ryan Day, just talked to Will Howard, just talked to Jim Knowles. What did you learn, Tim?
Number one, you're right. I mean, Ryan Day and Will Howard want you to be loud, be proud. I mean, This is a showdown game. This is the 3rd showdown game of a top 5. Of a top 5 nature, which is crazy when you think about is Ohio State versus undefeated, unbeaten, number 5, Indiana. Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
Curt Cignetti can maybe claim he did now, but
he didn't.
A lot of things had to come into play there. But the thing about it is they have played like a top 5 team, in my opinion, against their schedule. Let's put it that way. Of course, their latest outing was a 20-15 win over Michigan. All kinds of things you can look at there, the lack of offense for either one of those teams. But the bottom line is, just like Autzen Stadium was the most ridiculous place I've ever covered a game, a football game, in terms of loudness, it lived up to the billing. They want Ohio Stadium to be the same thing on Saturday, even though it may be 40 degrees at kickoff.
It's going to be cold.
It may be hard to warm up. But they want you to know that everything is needed in this one. And then past that, Ohio State has not played, in my opinion, that complete game yet. I think Ryan Day sort of alluded to that in different ways. The slow start by the offense on Saturday. We can say slow start. They only had the ball for one time in the first quarter in Wrigley Field against Northwestern. One of the reasons was because the defense couldn't get off the field on those first 2 Northwestern possessions. But the other thing was Ohio State didn't convert when they had a chance to keep the ball. So hot start, how do you define a hot start? You only know it once you've seen it. You know what I mean? You never know what a team is going to do, what the other team is going to do to you. As Will Howard pointed out, they've got things they're going to run defensively they haven't run against anyone else, or more than a couple of times against anyone else. So there's going to be a feeling out period. But one thing I would hasten to say to the Ohio State defense is, no matter what, man, tackle the scrambling quarterback. Don't be so aggressive you take yourself out of plays, and that's what helped Northwestern keep the ball there on those first couple of drives until they finally figured out Jack Lausch and his ability to scramble and find little creases and stuff. And they tightened that up, for want of another term, and it was a one-sided ball game from there.
I learned in there, Tim, that the Ohio State defense is not lacking for confidence despite some questionable play from the corners. I asked Jim Knowles about the aggression of Davison Igbinosun and if they've just come to accept life with the penalty in each game from Davison. He said, no, you never accept it, you just keep teaching it. But I think there is a level of, they know that he's physical, they love the physicality, and Jim Knowles alluded to that. You're going to take one of those every now and then, but one a game is a little much. I think that's something they can clean up, and I think that's the sentiment I got in there as well. And then Ryan Day, Jim Knowles both asked about both asked about Denzel Burke and his confidence. Is it shaken? How's he doing? I'm going to write about that for LettermenRow.com today. Is like, where is Denzel in this cornerback room when they're facing the best passing attack they've seen since that Oregon game when they were, for lack of a better term, torched by the Ducks. I think that there's not a lack of confidence there, but there's also an understanding that they have to play better. They must play better. And if they don't, Indiana's going to have some success. But the big thing that I'll take away is that Ryan Day and Jim Knowles are both confident that Denzel Burke's confidence is not gone, despite the, I would say, what's the best way to put it, shaky play at times from their lead cornerback and their leader in the secondary.
Yeah, but we all know that playing cornerback is maybe the toughest job in football. At any level. And it's not like he's giving up 20 plays a game. But a couple that he's given up just stand out to you. And maybe chasing guys across the field too. And I like the way Ohio State has adjusted since the Oregon game of almost always having a man over the top. Which is negated the big play, with the exception of that big run by Tyler Warren, the tight end for well, whatever you want to call him, whatever position. He's on the backfield almost as he does as a tight end. That big play near the end of that game in the fourth quarter, that run he had where it was just, he just made a play.
Yeah.
Denzel Burke's the guy that forced him out of bounds.
Yeah.
Denzel Burke is what set up. His play is what set up one of the great goal line stands of the year for Ohio State. So Denzel has had some moments and some tough moments. But, and the thing about Igbinosun, what he needs to get in his mind is the Big Ten officials can say what they want. He's getting watched. I mean,
yes,
he's getting special attention. You can tell because some of the things are just that he's getting called for, other guys aren't getting. For example, when Jeremiah Smith almost made that great catch at the goal line, backing into the end zone, that one-handed catch, he had been interfered with while the ball was in the air by that corner. Then they separated a little bit, but he had been interfered with clearly. And what are you watching if you're an official? Do you go back and watch that play and go, boy, man, miss that one?
Yeah.
Or just let them play? The just let them play thing rings hollow with me because clearly on occasion they don't let Davis and Igbinosun just play. I went off on a little bit of a rant there, but, a penalty in the Big Ten especially oftentimes is in the eye of the beholder of the flag. So that's where you're going. But I really like this defense. I really like, as I asked Jim Knowles, I really like what they're doing with Jordan Hancock the last several games.
Yeah.
He's been activated to use Jim Knowles' line about Caleb Downs. Clearly, Jordan Hancock has been activated, and I like the depth they're playing on the defensive side, which I'm going to write about later in the week.
Yeah, the Jordan Hancock thing kind of doesn't negate because Northwestern still had a couple good plays there against these Ohio State corners, but Jordan Hancock's play being elevated the last few weeks, and he really has elevated his game the last few weeks. But that play and the play from Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs has, like you said, negated, I guess, a little bit of the concern with the corners because you know that the safeties in the back end are going to take care of you. But still, this is another game where you're going to get one-on-one matchups. Friend of the show, Bill Landis asked, I think Jim Knowles about.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, he's a friend of the show.
Oh, I know. Just like where you said that.
Asked Jim Knowles about Curtis Rourke's ability to throw back shoulder throws. You watch Indiana, I mean, they make $20 an hour. That's an honest living.
Yeah.
Throwing back shoulder routes on the sideline.
Yeah.
And those are hard to defend no matter who's the corner.
Yeah.
Let alone these Ohio State corners that have given up a little bit in man-to-man. They're going to do that against Ohio State. It's not they might try. They're going to do that.
You know who was great at that, by the way, when they played here in 2020?
Indiana.
Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah. And
that was that was a clinic on back shoulder throws.
And you're going to see it again on Saturday, and you've got to defend those. So, all of the chatter in that room today was about the corners. Not all, you know what I mean? Not all of it, but there was a lot of chatter about these corners and the secondary and the ability to defend Indiana's passing game and the receivers.
Wait, let me interrupt one quick thing. But that's the thing. See, this is Tuesday. Indiana knows what what Ohio State knows and stuff. How are they going to change that? Because those are the plays that keep them in the football game on Saturday. You understand what I'm saying?
The explosives.
Yeah, the explosives, but I call them snooker explosives, where you know that Denzel Burke, Davis Igbinosun, Jermaine Matthews when they're in there are going to be peaked to being on top of their guys, et cetera. That's where you really snooker guys with back shoulder throws.
Yeah. So before we transition, Tim, I wanted to make sure to mention, top of the show, I said Ryan Day challenged Ohio State fans to show up early and be loud.
I'm going to write about that. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. You can be a part of that in the Horseshoe on Saturday for a top 5 matchup against the Indiana Hoosiers. Brave the cold, potential rain, potential wind in the Horseshoe on Saturday. If you go to the Game Time app and gametime.co and use the Game Time Picks feature to sort through those tickets and find the perfect ticket to Ohio State, Indiana. You might want to find one in B-Deck because obstructive view, but you're under a canopy. Doesn't sound too bad.
No.
Or you can brave the elements and just be out in the cold. But either way, however you want to slice it, go to the Game Time app, gametime.co, get $20 off your first purchase. That's right, $20 off your first purchase when you use the code ON3, O-N-3 on your first purchase on the Game Time app and at gametime.co, and you can get tickets to Ohio State, Indiana. Still some available. They're a little pricey. We're hoping to help you guys out with that by giving you $20 off with the Game Time app and gametime.co. Oh, by the way, you buy that ticket, then you find a cheaper ticket in the same row, the same section on a competing ticketing app, send it in a Game Time, they refund you 110% the difference. Pretty good deal there.
Yep.
GameTime.co and the Game Time app. Use the code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Tim. Will Howard. Doesn't care about the accolades. Second straight week we've talked to him about that. Doesn't care about anything else, efficiency, things like that, other than just winning the game. And this Ohio State offense is going to face an Indiana team that is the #1 rush defense in the country, that defends the pass pretty well. They really don't do a lot poorly on the defensive side. This Ohio State offense is in for a challenge. And I think Will Howard and Ryan Day both spoke about that in a way where they understand that the logo on that helmet does not reflect what we see from Indiana. This is a good defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the problem with Indiana all through the years I've been covering Ohio State football, 41 years, as you pointed out, but even before that, paying attention. With the exception of the few Bill Mallory years, Indiana's rarely had what I call a complete football team.
Maybe one Kevin Wilson team?
Yeah, but I'm just talking about where they make you worry about them offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
This is one of and even special teams. This is one of those is rare in Indiana. Well, they're 10-0 first time in history, so that'll tell you what I'm talking about.
It's rare.
Maybe in '67 when we went to the Rose Bowl, John Pont had them making you worry about all three phases. But this is one of those Indiana teams. And the bottom line is, what did you ask me about, by the way?
This offense.
Yes.
This is a good Indiana defense,
Yes.
and from what I heard from those guys, I think Will Howard and Ryan Day fully understand that this defense is good. It's not just statistically good.
Yeah, it's sound. I know people get tired of hearing that word, but the really good teams have pretty sound defenses. You can count Ohio State in that group. You can count Oregon in that group. You can count Alabama's kind of coming on. Georgia, I'm not sure about Georgia anymore, even though they beat Tennessee, but they look pretty sound on Saturday night. Bottom line is you have sound defenses, which means guys have their role, they play their role, they take care of their gap responsibility, they take care of what their responsibility is, and then occasionally one guy rises up and makes a play, a big play. That's what Indiana has looked like through the first 10 games. For example, in the fourth quarter against Michigan, when they hung on and won that game. That's what Indiana has looked like defensively. So you've got to have what Ohio State has going for it in that little chess match is, I didn't get to ask Will Howard this question, but the point I was going to make to him was you've got 5 or 6 guys minimum on this offense that if you get the ball in their hands, they have a chance of making a play.
Yeah.
You're not zeroing in on one wide receiver and one running back, or one tight end for that matter. We'll see if Will Kazmarek gets to play this week. There's a chance he's going to practice, and we'll see from that who was their #1 tight end until he got hurt. But G. Scott made one of the great plays on Saturday, one of the great plays of the season, catching that little seam route down the middle from Will Howard. That's what Ohio State has going for it in one of these almost like matchups.
Yeah.
Is there are 5 or 6 guys that can make a play other than the quarterback. And then what I'm segueing there into is we keep talking about Will Howard and him getting his just due. He's one of the top passers in the country. Look at the stats. Mm-hmm. He can hurt you with his feet if he wants to. Saturday, he decided to rest his feet.
Yeah.
He ran one time, like you pointed out many times.
And it was a snake.
On a tush push and didn't make it, So Ohio State didn't show that, but if they've shown it in other games. My point is, Will Howard, just like he knew when he came here and he talked about it, he's just got to be that point guard. He's got to be the distributor. Mm-hmm. He's got to be the guy that figures out where the strength is against a run play on that particular defense from play to play on Saturday and run away from it. Mm-hmm. Or unless you've got a mismatch you feel like and you can run right into it. That happens. That figures in too. So that's what stands out to me about Will Howard is he has become quite the distributor of the ball, which is huge at this moment in this season.
Yeah, last thing, and then I'll get us out of here. Ryan Day said that, and I think this is important, when Ryan Day says that they submit things to the Big Ten, it's usually on penalties. There's nothing they're going to do about it other than the Arvell Reese overturn, and that's the end of it. It's fine. You hear from him, our bad, we should have called a penalty there, and then you get a little pat on the head, we're sorry, move on with your day. I think this is a little different.
Yes.
Ohio State submitted the Jeremiah Smith ankle twist, and I watched it back over a couple times. I was hesitant to call it dirty because I think that's a heavy allegation to make on a player. No, it was dirty. It was an dirty. Absolute dirty play. After the play, he rolls back over to the other side and carries that ankle with him. Jeremiah Smith gets up limping. That is a season-changing moment for Ohio State if that is held on to for any longer than that.
Yes.
And you don't want to make it out to be war and peace, but this is a big deal. And Ohio State submitted that to the Big Ten. They're waiting to hear back. I'm anxious to see what they hear back from the Big Ten because if I'm in the Big Ten shoes, there's got to be some sort of punishment for that. because it's unacceptable. I thought it was really dirty play.
I wish every player was mic'd, because I would like to have heard what that kid was saying to himself after he got up. Matter of factly, and ran around Jeremiah Smith and ran back out on the field. You know, if you could just hear what he was either saying or thinking to himself.
Yeah, well,
that's what you know, because there was clear malice there.
Yes.
Anybody can see it and see that. I didn't see it immediately on the replays because, you know, they went on whatever, but you could see Jeremiah get up blimping, and then you look back on the play and you're kind of going, I'm saying to myself, man, I wish I'd watched that more clearly when it happened, because that would have been a huge topic after the game, in my opinion, because this is a guy that may win the Bolitnikoff Award.
Yes.
You know what you're trying to do, which is get him out of the game. He had just made a huge play, and then maybe ruin his season.
And to be honest, the game was already over. So like if you were trying to hurt him or anything, it's not like Ohio State was going to lose that game if they lost Jeremiah Smith. So it was really just a dumb, pointless play by a guy who has now deleted his social media account because Ohio State fans have,
of course,
accosted him for it. Which I'm not for, like, doxing people on social media, but like if you did something wrong, people should be able to tell you about it. So anyway,
if they deserve it, that's all right.
I'll get us out of here on this. Jeremiah Smith is good to go. Ryan Day said he is good to go. Now, Ryan Day could have said he's day-to-day, which we all know what that means in Ryan Day lingo.
Well, he went back into the game.
Yeah, he went back into the game, but it's clear that whatever happened, when you take that shoe off, you take the wrap off and everything, Ryan Day said he is good to go. So Jeremiah Smith, good to go. I think crisis averted, but at the same time, I think Ohio State probably at this point expects to hear back that something will be done about that because it was unacceptable.
Yeah.
What is also unacceptable is for you not to take advantage of the 7 days for $1 sale at lettermenrow.com, 7 days for $1, then 50% off a full year after that. It's the best deal we run all year. It's just in time for the holiday season. Get it for your uncle, your third uncle's cousin, your cousin's uncle, your stepbrother. Get it for your aunt and all of your family members, your grandparents, your dad, your son, your daughter, whoever,
your family tree,
your friends as well, whoever you have in your life, they would love the gift of Lettermen Row. It's 7 days for $1, then 50% off a year after that. Tim May's content resides there. My content resides there. The full recruiting staff, Alex Gleitman, Mick Walker. You get Steve Wiltfong and the Wiltfong whip around with the Fong bombs. All of that recruiting stuff is also over at lettermenrow.com. Go there right now. Get lettermenrow.com for a discounted price. We would love to see you over there. Like the video below, subscribe to the Lettermen Row YouTube channel, then get your butt over to lettermenrow.com, and then get to the Horseshoe on Saturday and be loud, because that's what Ohio State demands of you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
One last addition. Mitchell Melton may be practicing this week.
That is, yes.
And may come back. I mean, we'll see. But that's huge. If he and Will Kazmarek can both return in some form or fashion, that's huge going into a showdown game like this.
That's why he's the best in the business, folks. That's Tim May, the 41-year vet. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys back here on Wednesday for more coverage of the Buckeyes.